All right, this is Mr. Gillum, and today we're going to talk about how to find simple interest. Find simple interest. And I think you're going to like today because we just got a simple equation to remember and 4 variables. And once we know those things, then we will be able to solve and calculate simple interest. So let's take a look today. All right, the formula for simple interest is something very similar to what we've been doing with percents. It is I equals PRT. And when all those variables are right next to each other, that means multiplication. So I, since we're talking about interest, obviously means interest. Oop, wrong button. Interest. Not interest like I am interested. Interest, like more money on top of what you already have. Like so when you put money in a bank account, you get interest money from the bank for you letting them lend your money out to other people. P, principal. Principal. Not principal like Ms. Isaacson, principal like how much money you start with, or the original amount. R, tricky one. R is the rate, And I'm going to put some little notes in there. That's usually a percent. You do need to change it to a decimal. Change it to a decimal before you use it. You're moving it to the left 2 decimal places. Move it to the left 2 decimal places. And finally T, time. Time in years. Actually, let's see here. Would it have to be in years? What we're going to do, it's always going to be in years, but actually time in year, it doesn't have to be in years. Just the time. T is time. So we're just going to say T is time. Okay, well, let's take a look here. Caitlin invested $5,000 at a rate of 12.5% for 5 years. All right, a lot to take in there. Let's just take a look here. She invested how much she started with. 5,000 is her principal. So we're going to say that the P value is 5,000. The rate is 12.5%. The R, the rate is 12.5%. I'm going to put 12.5%, but we're going to change it to R equals 0.125 because we do need to move that decimal place 2 spots. And then we have 5 years, so our time is 5, in this case years. All right, what we're looking for is how much interest they're going to make after those 5 years. So we're going to take 5,000, I equals PRT. So I, what we don't know what the interest is yet. So what we don't know equals 5,000 for P times the rate, which we changed to 0.125, times the years, times the time, multiplied by the time. All right, and what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull up my trusty calculator and we're going to multiply that out. And we will see. Where's it at? There it is. 5,000 times 0.125 times 5. 3,125. So the interest they're going to make. Whoa, is that right? Let's double check that. That seems like a lot of interest. 5,000 times 0.125 times 5. Wow, they're making bank. $3,125 is how much interest they're going to make. I guess at 12.5% interest, I guess that would make sense. You make a lot of interest. Okay, very good. Take a look at the next one here. Find the simple interests. Once again, we're thinking the interest equals the principal times the rate times the time that it's in there. So we got $8,000 invested. So my principal, how much I'm starting with, my original amount is 8,000. My rate is 6%, but we're not going to use 6% as our rate. We're going to use 0.06 if we move that decimal 2 spots. And it's going to be in there for 1 year. So we're just going to use 1 for T. So what we're looking for is the interest that we're going to make. So we're going to say 8,000 times the 0.06 times 1. And then it's just a matter of finding what that number is. Let's see here, calculator, 8,000 times 0.06 times 1. 480 bucks. 480 bucks. Now that's a lot different than the last one we just did. That's how much money and interest they're going to make. There's two reasons for that. One reason, we were going 5 instead of 1, which means it's going to the interest is going to compound. I don't know, it's just going to be more each year. So we would, on the last one, we had to take it times 5 instead of 1. And also same thing here, instead of 12%, we only have half as much a percent. So in this case, the interest is only $480. So the bigger the percent you can get, and for the longer you can get it, the more money you'll make on interest. And one more. Once again, we're thinking this formula here. I equals the principal times the rate times time. It looks like we're starting with $15,000 as our principal at 3.5%. But we're not going to use 3.5%. We're going to use 0.035 as our rate. And then finally, our time is 25 years. So now if we are looking for it says what is the total amount she will pay on her loan. That means we're going to have to pay the $15,000 plus the interest rate. So we got to find how much interest we got to pay first. The interest would be 15,000 times 0.035 times 25. $15,000 times 0.035 times 25. Oh my goodness, we got to pay a $15,000 loan at 3.5% interest. We have to pay just in interest. We have to pay, what was that number? 13,000 something? $13,125. Oh my goodness, that's a lot of interest. But that's just how much interest we have to pay. Okay, we have to pay that much on top of the $15,000. So when it asks us what is the total amount she has to pay on her loan, well, she's got to pay the $15,000 back in full. Plus, she's got to pay all the interest for letting her loan take that loan out. So total, we got $28,125. So just for using that money, that $15,000, she has to pay almost twice as much back by the time it's all said and done for a 25-year loan. Wow. That's insane. That's a crazy number. But that's the way it works. Those banks, they'll get you. So if you can ever pay more than just what your minimum payment is to knock off some of that principal, then I highly recommend you do that. All right. And that's it for today. Basically, you need to know how an interest formula works. The P stands for principal, the R stands for rate, the T stands for time. And to find the interest that you have to pay, you plug those numbers in and you multiply them together. And that's it. If they ask for the total that you have to pay on something like a loan, well, you got to pay back obviously how much you borrowed, and then on top of that, the amount of interest that you have to pay as well. All right, so that's it for today.